Biggie. This goes out to you. This goes out to you and you and you, Biggie, and you.
Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you for all of you supporting this VC today. Thank you to the Biggie community. I know we have some members from the Blockchain Ben community that have come over, and all others that are here or watching live or watching on the recording of today's session. So we are starting a brand new series today focused specifically on the DeFi segment of crypto. What we are planning to do is to have several guests with us week by week who are known, who are highly respected members of our communities that are generous enough to donate some of their time to help us learn the DeFi space, to share and provide some knowledge with us, to talk with us about some of the top plays in DeFi so we can all start to earn residual income. We're also going to touch a little bit upon spam prevention, as this is definitely a super important topic. And I know we've had community members get burned specifically by this. We don't want to get scammed. We don't want to get our wallets drained, etc. We work too hard for our money and to lock in our profits to have that happen to us. So as we continue to move forward, kind of think of it as a unified community that we plan to try to utilize the knowledge that we have here with all of us. We have now over 800 members in the Biggie Telegram. Blockchain Ben has, I think, a little bit over 2,000 members, and we each have different skill sets which we can utilize and tap into to help us each advance. And that's really the number one goal, is to get smarter, gain wisdom, and work collectively for all of us to move forward down the path of prosperity together. So being in the right network of people, I can't stress to you how important that is. And if you think about why that's important, it's important because crypto is just a tough market. And I learned that more and more each day. It's highly volatile. It can be up 1 minute and seconds later you're down. It's filled with deception, scams, lies, and we have to understand that there are different levels of risk that we can take and different options within crypto. And I know we have a lot of traders in the community, meme traders, high risk takers. We also have people that are more so into portfolio building and Bitcoin maxi members. And we also have a DeFi focused group that are focused on earning yield and farming. And that's where we want to focus this specific series within. My mission within this series is for all of us to understand how we can take our profits, especially from high risk wins like trading, and how we can funnel those profits to a safer, lower risk option such as DeFi. And if you don't rotate profits into options that can build residual income, you're going to lose in this game. It's just a matter of time. So being able to lock in profits, move it into staking or into a liquidity pool and earn some of that juicy yield that's going to kick off a residual income for you, that's really the goal. What we can't do, again, is just take high risk stake wins and think we can continue to rotate them into the next trade over and over again. That's a losing strategy. So the goal is to become balanced. So today we're going to start to learn how to do some of this. For some of you, this may be basic level stuff. For others, it may be brand new. I think we'll get more and more advanced as we progress through this series and modify it, have different guests on. Today we have Crypto Crazy here with us. He's an amazing community member, well trusted, knows the space really well. He also does a weekly DeFi focus and kind of overall market update YouTube stream, which I highly recommend. I've learned a great deal from watching it myself, and I'll share all of his socials here in the Telegram and for everyone watching on YouTube. Crypto Crazy, thank you for being with us here today.
My pleasure. No problem. I enjoy doing these types of conversations, as you know.
Yeah, I do know. I've enjoyed watching the streams. This is filled with great knowledge, so I certainly encourage everyone to turn on notifications for Crypto Crazy streams and just continue to get filled with more knowledge. And today, really just want to try to maybe walk through some of your top DeFi or liquidity pool recommendations or staking options in the market. Talk a little bit about, as I mentioned, scams. And I know you've had a recent experience that you and I discussed, I think it was yesterday or a couple of days ago, how you were affected by that and how tricky that was. And anyone can really fall for that. And also just walking through putting together an actual LP and how to set up the parameters if you choose to do the custom route along the way. And anyone here who has questions as we go through this material, just feel free to drop a question in the chat or just raise your hand to speak, and we'll bring you up at any point during the process that you have a question with. Crypto Crazy is going to do a screen share with us, so we can start it off. What do you think's best, Crypto Crazy? You want to get into a specific LP, or maybe just talk a little bit more about what exactly is an LP to begin with?
Okay, well, that's for those that don't know. Basically, what an LP or liquidity pool providing liquidity is anytime you go on a swap page of any of your favorite DEXs. Essentially, what you're doing when you make a swap, let's say, from example, from Solana to USDC, you are making that swap from the liquidity that has been provided from others on that platform. So basically, what you're doing, it's a kind of it's a circle of life. You provide liquidity for a DEX, and then when anyone uses their swap option on that DEX, they are taking from that liquidity. And each time a transaction occurs, there is a small fee that is paid. And that fee is what generates your income when you provide liquidity.
Great.
Pretty much the nuts and bolts of it.
I know we were kind of focusing on specific chains or which chains may be your favorite right now within the DeFi sector. We spoke a little bit how I think both of us used to dabble into the Ethereum side of DeFi, but with the gas fees getting as high as they were, it was really eating up all the profits or the yield that you were earning. So I think we both have moved away from Ethereum and more so into some of the options that you may show us today, right?
Yeah. There's nothing really against Ethereum other than the gas fees. There's no secret that sometimes the gas fees can get pretty high. I know a lot of the larger whales in the space, they like Ethereum simply because there's a lot of options and they don't mind paying that gas fee. You know, if you're putting in tens of thousands into a liquidity pool, you're not really going to care to pay for that $15, $20 fee or whatever it happens to be that day. But if you're a smaller fish like myself and a lot of others in the DeFi space, when you're providing maybe 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000, and you're paying 15, 20, and sometimes even upwards of $20 more, you really don't want to be paying that fee over and over. And there have been some cases when I've entered a pool, like I was telling you earlier, and it took me almost a week just to earn back the amount that I paid in gas. It just didn't make any sense for me. So I've moved away from Ethereum. And the three main ones, which we'll touch on that I'm into now, is Solana, obviously. It has been the darling of this bull market. Even though the transaction fees are very, very small, we're talking fractions of a penny, it's right up there with Ethereum overall when it comes to transaction fees paid, because there have been so many transactions made on the Solana blockchain that it's right up there with Ethereum. And then the other two I'm going to go over as well is Sui, which I'm a big fan of, and Injective protocol as well. And I'll show those DEXs on there. So can you see my screen okay?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, so this is Orca. It has come out with a V2, which you see now. There were a little bit of issues, not issues, but it was kind of glitchy and buggy, version 1. So they've come out with this version 2, and it's fantastic. It's very smooth. The UI is really clean and easy to understand. Right now I'm on the swap page. So when you come on to Orca's main page, this is where you'll come if you ever want to make a transaction, swapping Solana for whatever you want. The other great thing about Solana, as we all know, is meme coin season. Solana was a huge hit with the ease of use of pump.fun. And it just had thousands upon thousands upon thousands of meme coins. And everyone used Solana for that. It was the biggest one during the meme coin season. And Orca and Radium, they were the two that really benefited from the meme coin season because they were the DEXs that were used for these meme coins. Anyway, so we're on Orca here. This is the main page. You come over and you can choose liquidity. Now, as I went over with you, one of the biggest things when you're providing liquidity, especially for blue chips, is it really helps if you understand the price action, you know the chart of those particular assets. It'll really help you set your ranges if you choose to do a custom range. A lot of people, when they come in, they just do a full range, which Orca will choose the range for you, which is a fairly broad range. Your yield, your 24-hour yield, will be a little bit less, obviously, because of the size of the range, but it's very, very, I don't want to say safe, but it's it eases people's minds because you're more than likely not going to go out of range, and you'll earn that yield without even having to worry about it. It's kind of a, set it and forget it. But for those that are a little bit more brave, like myself, and you understand assets, I'm going to go to one of my favorites, which is Jupe.So. The reason I like Jupe.So is because Jupiter and Solana, they're a correlated asset. One of the websites I like to use before deciding on a liquidity or where I'm going to provide liquidity, there's a website called Defi Llama. What's really cool about that is you can go to the section for the pairs, correlation pairs. It'll actually give you range, like the correlation between different assets that you choose, and the more correlation they have, the better chance of it will have of staying in range. And I'll kind of go over that in a minute here. So up here on the right hand side, you can either choose to go full, and then all you have to do is put in your liquidity amount. Now, let's say you only have one asset or the other. You don't even have to swap them in the swap. You can just go here to auto swap, click the tab. It'll choose my wallet's not connected, but it'll go to auto swap. You put in, for example, in this case, Jupiter. Let's say you had $100 worth of Jupiter. You put that in. It'll automatically convert the other half into Solana for you. So when you enter that liquidity pool, it's easy. You don't even have to worry about trying to figure out percentages or anything like that. That's on full. Now on custom is where it gets a little bit more intricate. This is where you obviously go on to a deck screener is a good one. For example, you go on to the Jupiter Solana chart, and it gives you the price of Jupiter in relation to Solana, just much like Bitcoin USDC or Solana USDC. And then you can choose your range. So if you are kind of familiar with the Solana Jupe chart, and you kind of have an idea of the price action where it has been hovering, if there's been a trend, whether it be an uptrend, downtrend, you kind of have an idea of the upper range and the lower range. You can actually set that right here. So you set a minimum range, a maximum range. Now this is the range in which, as long as the price stays in between, you will earn yield from it. So it's always better to make sure that you have a pretty good idea of what the price action is going to be, not necessarily long term, but at least, in the short term, because you can always adjust ranges and so forth later on. But you want to make sure, at least to start off, you're going to be in the position for a little while. And then same thing, you can do auto swap. You enter in your amount, and then you click down here, provide liquidity. So it's fairly straightforward. Now, what I do recommend, a lot of people are doing meme coins, which there's nothing wrong with doing meme coins, because typically, I don't know if they have any meme coins here, but let's see what we got. What would be a good meme coin right now on Solana, Biggie?
Probably WIF.
Okay, we'll go to WIF. So up here in the top, you can search tokens, and we'll go down. WIF is right here, and then it brings up all of the WIF pairs.
Okay.
So let's say we'll go to WIF Sol as an example, and then if I go to custom range, minus 11%. Well,
so when you're putting in those custom ranges and those prices, is that the price of one specific coin, or is it just kind of the correlation between the two, that range?
The range is the price of WIF in relation to Sol. So I know this is something that a lot of people do get confused on, but let's say we're looking at, I'm just going to go up here to the chart. So right here is the Bitcoin USD chart. So this is Bitcoin's price in relation in USD dollars, right?
Right.
So if we were to do, if we go back, this price here is the price of WIF per Sol.
Okay.
So I know that's a little bit to wrap your head around, and it actually took me a little while too, because when you're so used to looking at a USD chart and then you look at a pair like this, it kind of doesn't make any sense. But then once you bring up the chart, like I said, on Deck Screener or whatever your favorite screen. So I'll go to Deck Screener just to show real quick. And I've got a few here. Oh, verify I'm human. Yeah, I'm human.
So that's why you recommended going to DeFi Llama and seeing the correlation between the two tokens, because the closer that they are, the less chance you
Yes.
have of coming out of that range, correct?
Yes, what that will mean in the WIF Sol example, the price of WIF and the price of Sol go up relatively the same and come down relatively the same. Like the price action is the same. Whereas, a lot of, maybe that's not a good example because WIF sometimes can go crazy up and crazy down. But I like to use the example of Jupiter Sol, because when Jupiter goes up 5% on any given day, Sol usually goes up 5% on that same day. So when you have that correlation, you stay in range a lot longer, which is the whole point of the game.
So doing a liquidity pool, let's just say with Sol and then a stable coin, then I guess you would have even more risk of coming out of range, right? Because the stable isn't going to move and the other token is going to be either up or down.
Exactly. Yeah, I was going to cover that in a minute, but you're exactly right. If you do an asset with a stable coin, you really have to be careful with your range, because you want it to be a little bit broader, because the price of Sol per USDC, it could go out of range real quick if Sol has a 10% day, right?
Okay, we can get into that later. I don't want to go ahead of.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a little bit. Okay, so here, this is the WIF per Sol. So obviously, WIF is not 1 cent. I'm not even sure what the price of WIF rate is right now, but this would be an example. This is WIF as in relation to Sol. So 0.01 cent is the cost of 1 WIF per Sol.
Got it.
But anyway, you look at this chart and you kind of get your range. Like you can actually quickly just look at it and see, the top end of this range here is around 2 cents, 0.23 cents. And then the bottom, well, this was kind of an uptrend. So we'll just take this area here, and the bottom would be, 0.009. So if you were to set a range between here and here, that would probably stay in this range for a little while. Like this is the daily chart. So like, look how many days this has stayed within this range. So that would have been a good range to choose, because you would have been in it for, since March, and you would still be in range. So that's just an example.
Okay. So for pairs that have really close correlation, would you recommend going with the custom route as opposed to just the first option, which is kind of set it and forget it and not have to put in the parameters yourself? Is there much of a difference when you have two tokens with such a close correlation?
My strategy has been, whenever I open a pool using a meme coin, I will go full, simply because it chooses a broader range. But if you're going in with an asset that is correlated strongly, for example, Jupe and Sol, then yes, you can do a custom, because you can make that range a little bit tighter. And because you have faith that, if one goes up, the other is going to go up with it, and it's going to stay relatively the same.
Right. Okay.
Same price. Right. Exactly. So that's, in a nutshell, how to get in on Orca. Most of the dexes are pretty much the same, essentially, on how to get in, and a lot of them have this auto swap feature, because I know when I first started, Orca didn't have this on version 1, and it was a bit of a pain, because you set your ranges and you look, and according to this one, I need, well, let's say I choose, I'm going to come back up here. Let's say I choose 5% to the downside and 15% to the upside. See here, I need 68.8% WIF and 31% SOL. So I would have to, go into the swap and figure out how much WIF I needed. And it's a bit of a pain to get that exact amount. And then you have, residual amounts of WIF in your wallet because you sold too much or bought too much. But anyway, with this auto swap, it's great. It does it for you. It's simple and easy. Fantastic.
Another topic to get into, I don't know if I'm jumping ahead here, but the whole topic about impermanent loss and understanding how that also, is there a relationship there to the tokens that are close in correlation to each other, and how that may affect impermanent loss?
Well, the easy way to, let's look at impermanent loss this way. If you can kind of wrap your head around exactly what it is, then it makes it a lot easier to understand, and actually going forward with opening liquidity pools is, just think of impermanent loss as, the way I look at it anyway, if you're in a position and it goes out of range to the downside, so you're out of range. Let's say you put in, well, nice round number, $100, and when it goes out of range, your LP is worth 80.
Okay.
So you have an impermanent loss of approximately 20%, whatever the price of that asset is at the time. The way I look at it is, if you feel it is a temporary dip and that it's going to get back into range, I wouldn't even touch it. I kind of got this rule from Lucas over in the investor group. He's someone who I've learned a lot from in Crypto Labs research. He says that his strategy anyway is, if it goes out of range to the downside, usually more so the downside than the upside, because if it goes out on the upside, chances are you're in an uptrend and it could keep going. The same could be said on the downside, but typically when it goes to the downside, I give it a couple of days. If it goes out of range and if it's just kind of one of those, sell the news events or a wick down, chances are it's going to come back into range, especially because we're in a bull market. Now, if you're in a bear market, that's a little bit of a different scenario. You have to reevaluate then. But if you're in a bull market, chances are it's only going to be out temporarily and it'll come back in. Now, the way to look at it with impermanent loss is, if you are down 20%, it's out of range. Let's say it goes past that those 2 days, then you have a decision to make. You can either, impermanent loss doesn't become permanent until you sell. Now, if you do sell and then readjust your ranges to the lower end, and then you evaluate the chart and everything, you are down because you've made it permanent because you sold. But sometimes if you are in a bull market and it's beyond that 2 days, but you are pretty sure that the price is going to come back up, the way to look at impermanent loss is as a spot position. And let's say you had $100 worth of SOL in your wallet. The price went down 20%. You're down 20%. No big deal. You're not going to sell. I mean, no one panic sells when it's down like that. We're in a bull market. You know it's going to come back up.
Right.
So what I did with a couple of my pools, actually, with our last dip, I didn't touch them. I just considered them spot positions. I was down 20%, but I knew I was going to come back up. And sure enough, they did. Okay. So impermanent loss is not as bad as what a lot of people make it seem in a bull market. Like I said, things completely change. The dynamics change in a bear market. And that's a whole different story. We're not in a bear market, far from. We have another year or so of bull market, if not longer. So we won't even have to worry about that right now. So if you do happen to go out of range to the downside on any of your liquidity pools, evaluate, check the chart, make sure that you're in something that you believe in long term. It's going to do well in the bull market. It's a blue chip asset. I wouldn't even worry about it. Just consider it a spot position at that point until it comes back into range.
Okay. Community member that's watching now, CM Frankie, has a question for you. He wants to know, what is the advantage of choosing the custom parameters versus the full? And does that have to do with receiving better yield?
Yes, that's a great question. Okay, so if I were to choose the full here, it's 50% with 50% SOL, and your estimated yield is going to be lower simply because of the, I'm trying to see if this shows the range. Oh, I thought it might show the range. It probably does once you, I'd have to have my wallet connected. But that's exactly right. If you choose the full LP position, they choose your range, it's broader, and the yield is lower. Now, when you choose custom, obviously you can choose any upper bound and lower bound that you want to, and based on how tight your range is, it's going to pay more yield. That's exactly right.
Got it. So when they're showing you an annual percentage for the LP, let's just say it was a 20% yield, that may actually be lower if you're not choosing the custom rate, or can it be higher than what's advertised? Depending on
on the full side, you mean?
Yes.
That changes daily. That'll all depend, depending on where the price is of your pair. That yield will change, and also, of course, it all depends on the volume. Like if that pair happens to get a crap ton of volume one day, then that yield will go up to reflect that.
Okay.
And the same goes with custom. The yield that you earn is going to change by the minute, by the day, by the hour. It's constantly changing depending on volume.
Okay.
Now, if we go back into the pools here, I'll just go into the main one. There we go. Okay, so when it first shows the list, if you can see here the yield for the last 24 hours, it gives you an average of what it has been the last 24 hours, and then it gives the volume. Now, if you find an LP pair where the 24-hour volume is way higher than the TVL, then that's really good. That typically that's your kind of your criteria. You want to make sure that 24-hour volume is always higher than the TVL of that particular LP. The higher it is above the TVL, the higher the yield will be.
Got it.
And volume is obviously the amount of swaps that are done on that particular pair.
Excellent. Okay, got it. So Orca is definitely a great option. That's one I'm definitely going to jump into because I have a bunch of Sol that is just sitting in my wallet right now. So getting into the Jupe Sol LP sounds like a great option, at least for me. And I know many others in our community are very focused and active within the Sol community. So that one's great. And let's jump to one of your next favorites.
Okay. Sticking with the Solana theme, I am going to talk about Camino. This is, I don't even want to call it a fairly new DEX anymore because it has been around for a little while. But when I got into it, it was only literally a month old. They have a point system right now. They are currently on season 3. So what this is the more positions you have on Camino, the more points you earn per day. Now, Camino has a wide range of services. They have borrow and lending, liquidity, which is providing liquidity, which I have a position of render Sol actually on here now. A multiply, which is kind of like going long, but not exactly. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but they have a token or a pool of tokens called JLP, which a lot of people are familiar with. If you're familiar with Jupiter, Black Cat and Juan that are listening right now, I'm sure they know. And then they have a long and short. And then, of course, they have the KMNO, which is their token, which they just launched a few months ago. So the way this works is this is unique because when let me see how I can put this. Okay, the ranges are automatically adjusted. So if you get into a liquidity pool in here and it goes out of range, well, it actually won't go out of range because what happens is it will automatically readjust the range for you, which is amazing. The long and short part of it, actually, I'll just go into my my portfolio. I don't mind showing it. So the long and short, the good thing about this one is it gives you a warning. I know a lot of other DEXs, when you're in a long position or a short position, you have a liquidation price. And, once you get at that price, you're done. But what they do here is they kind of give you, they call it an LTV. So it's 75% would be a liquidation point. It wouldn't liquidate the entire position, just part of it, but it gives you something to just kind of watch. And as you get close to this area, then maybe it's time to lower your leverage or get out of the position. And what I like about this is any fees that are earned or anything that's earned from the position automatically get added to your principal amount. And as I said, if you're into liquidity position, which I am, let me go back here, which I am in my render Sol, any of the fees that I earn or the range are automatically adjusted. And then the fees that I earned obviously are in here. So since I've been in this position, fees that I've earned have been $117. The percentage isn't really high right now. Where is the percentage for this one? It is, I have to go back. It's only at 32% right now. This has adjusted over and over, but currently my initial deposit, I am down almost like close to $70. However, the fees that I've earned have made up for it. Render has been hit pretty hard with the last dip, so that's not really indicative of how well it's going to do. I believe eventually it will do really well. Anyway, long story and short of it, you don't have to do anything with Camino. You just enter your positions. It does all the work for you. While earning points for the next airdrop. And as I mentioned to you earlier, so far I've earned 3,081 KMNO with the last season, or the first season, sorry. The second season waiting to claim, which is going to be in a week or so, another 1,500, which I am staking all of this. And the amount that I've earned from that, I believe, as I had mentioned, it's around $400, I think, which isn't a terrible, huge amount, but I mean, Camino has been doing really well. The token KMNO has been doing well right now. Bitcoin has been down. The market has been down the last 24 hours, but yet Camino continues to climb. This is one that I really like because it's it's kind of another set it and forget it, and it has a lot of different options. So anyone looking to get into providing liquidity or even other options, do your research. Check out Camino. I think you'll like it. They have a really active community, and the volume that has been going through Camino in the last couple of months has been one of the highest on the Solana chain. So really bullish on Camino.
Yeah, it looks great. So the same way with Orca, where you can just deposit your SOL into the LP, it will break it up for you with the other token, and you don't have to do the swap yourself.
Yes, yeah, that's the same thing with on Camino. Is you just come over here if you have SOL and you want to do SOL render, which is what I did here, or Jupe SOL. You can half of it, max whatever. It'll do the conversion for you and then open up your position.
I think I actually have both of those tokens sitting in my wallet because I'm a big fan of render as well. So that's another great option for me to look into, and I'm sure many others.
Yes, it's check out the pages. Dive into it a little bit, understand how it works. But once you do, it's another viable option. I really love Camino. They're doing big things, and they're going to be around for a while.
Great. Well, that's two new pieces of information for me. So both within SOL, which I think is awesome too. And then let's take a look at one more.
Yeah. Well, those two were with SOL. These next two I'll do quickly because I am fans of both of them. The first one I'm going to do is Sui. I've been a big fan of Sui. It's a really good blockchain, really good project. They've had some, I wouldn't say hard times, but they did take a little bit of a hit, more so than others in the last dip. But I believe it's the perfect time to get in because everything is at a low. And as you can see here, the APR for Sui USDC is 275% currently. And it's been holding steady there for a couple of days. And as you can see here, liquidity 2.5 million, but the volume 5.5 million. So it's been doing really well. This one, I believe, I don't know if it's this one or no, it's Injective. Anyway, with this one, I think you'll have to put in the exact amounts.
Okay.
Like of a lot of the other ones, you just come in, you set your balances. You can do a light, which is kind of like the full on Orca, or you can do pro, where you set your own ranges. Same idea. And then, like I said, the only issue with this is you got to have the right amount. So you'll have to go up to the trade and swap out the amount that you need.
So it's not just equal amounts. So it's assuming $100 of SOL, you can't just break it into $50 of each and then deposit them into the LP.
It depends on your range, because if you see right here, deposit composition 50% and 49.8%. But as soon as I move this range, that number changes.
I see.
So now it's 41% SUI, 58% USDC.
Okay.
So whatever range you're happy with based on your charting, or whatever range you want to go with, then then you'll have to kind of figure out, okay, I need this much. And yeah, it's a bit of a process, but that's that's the name of the game with a lot of the LPs on these projects.
What would it give you if you chose the light option, where you weren't picking your own custom range? What percentage would you have to put in of each?
Light, as you can see, currently the light one that they choose gives you 292%. Whew, that is pretty good.
Yeah, it is great.
It's 50-50 when you choose light.
Okay, that's easy. That's some nice juicy yield there.
Yeah, it sure is.
That's
like I
great.
said, Sui's making a comeback. It's been doing really well the last couple of days. At one point, it was down near 40, 45, 46 cents, and it shot all the way up to $1.04, I believe it was yesterday. Oh. So, yeah, and now it's hovering around 96, 97 cents. So it's coming back. It was doing really well a few months ago, when we were hitting all-time highs with Bitcoin. We were getting these kind of yields consistently on Sui USDC, as well as Turbos, which is the native, which is this DEX. And now Turbo Sui 42%, Turbos USDC 188%. So yeah, they're all kind of making a comeback, which is really nice to see.
Yeah, that's a great one.
And this is a great time, because when I was in this one back when Bitcoin was making all-time highs, the total value locked was somewhere near 50 million. Wow. It's now down to 9.1 million.
Wow.
So yeah, it has come down, but now I think, it's taking that turn. The downtrend is completed, and now these yields are proving it, that it's making a comeback. So that is SUI on turbos. And the last one, real quick, is Dojo Swap Injective, which I'm also bullish on. Injective is another one, just like SUI, that took a pretty good hit, like most did during that dip. The Dojo token itself is currently at 4.2 cents. It was at 80 cents, if you can believe that.
Wow, 80 cents?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Near the Bitcoin all-time highs, it was near 80 cents. So it has taken a dip, but it seems to stabilize, and it's slowly making its way up. The yields on this as well are starting to do really well. 104% on that one, 95%. Not quite as good as SUI, but let's see what else we got. You can go farms, pools, and then liquid staking as well. D engine, which is and it's like a wrapped engine. And then the farms, I think, was the other one. Nope, pools. Yeah, here. So,
quick audience question from Black Cat. He was asking, do you feel there's generally less liquidity in the pools, so they pay out more for you for depositing?
That is a byproduct of it. Yeah, absolutely. But like I said, it all comes down to volume. The more volume a DEX gets, the more yield you're going to get paid. But yeah, when the market dipped there, people were fearful. They pulled their liquidity out of the pools, and obviously all the TVLs went down. But that has stopped, and they've started to come back. And like you see on some of the ones that I've shown, the volume is returning with a vengeance. So the higher the volume, the more yield you earn. And I think the beginning of this bull market, which I believe started back in January 23, mid of last year is when DeFi and the DEXs and liquidity pool sector started to take off again. It did really well up until, I guess it was May, June. Yeah. And then people started pulling it. But I believe it's going to make a comeback. It's on its way back up now that the bull market is returning. Now, to answer your question, Biggie, I know you're going to ask it, so I'll answer before you ask. Yes, you can do a single click with Dojo Swap. You go up here to swap to Zap, and then by zapping, you enter in your amount, and boom, automatically converts it for you and enters into the Dojo Engine LP.
That is so convenient, so easy.
Very convenient, yep. Yeah, I think they should all have that option. So those are the main ones that I'm focusing on right now. There are a ton on Ethereum and Matic has a bunch, and well, they all do really. But as I was saying to you off air, there's just way too many to keep track of a whole bunch at once. So what I did is, the biggest fish float all boats, so to speak. And Solana seems to be the champion in this bull market. So I've concentrated on Solana. It's always been my favorite chain anyway. Black Hat can attest to it. Solana used to be my redheaded stepchild. It is now my darling. And, go with what you know. And I know Solana, and I know the Solana ecosystem.
Yeah, that's why the goal was to try to get a couple of different guests on, because I know everyone kind of has their favorite networks and favorite chains, and may have visibility where you or I just aren't looking, because you said there's so many different ones that you can really probably only be in a couple at once to be able to manage them. So that's definitely the goal, is to bring a few different guests on with us during the series and maybe focus in on some of the different chains. And I'd love to bring Black Cat up with us. I think he wants to jump on, maybe ask a couple of questions. So let me see if I can unmute him here. Okay, he should be unmuted, Black Cat.
Good evening, gentlemen.
There you are. Hey, welcome on, man.
Thank you. I think Crypto Crazy did a good job of explaining it. I was just curious, I get the volume part, but like he was saying with SUI dropping, it was more like not necessarily the volume. I was thinking just if the price is dropping and people are pulling more money out, I guess the volume is going to drop with that too. But if there's just not enough money in that pool altogether, I would think that they would start raising the rate as well too.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, actually, you're right. They do have incentives. Dojo is really good with that. They've been taking money from the treasury and injecting it, buying Dojo and other like Ninja and a few others on their ecosystem to boost up their LP pools. But yeah, they do it internally as well to boost the yield, that's for sure. But the main generation for the yield is volume.
And since I am on, one other question that I don't know if we would touch on and going on to the rest of your stuff, but did you notice if any of these have like a, I guess lack of a better term, like an ETF kind of setup? Like if you wanted to just say, hey, I want to drop $1,000 into a Solana pool with different coins in it, does anybody make something like that?
Yeah, well, you're familiar with Jupiter, and Jupiter has their JLP token. Let's see if I can bring that up real quick, actually. That's a good point, Black Hat. Thanks for bringing that up. I have it on my phone. Okay, let me bring it up here real quick. Bear with me, guys. Right here.
What chains do you focus in on, Black Hat? Is there specific DeFi chains you kind of spend most of your time within?
Well, I would say since Solana is Crypto Crazy's redhead stepchild, and I am a redhead stepchild, I definitely stay on Solana a lot. I've been toying a little bit with Arbitrum products.
Yep.
I do kind of stay away from ETH, but I have been talking to some people about some of those too. So their gas has come down too, so that does kind of help. It's just, is it going to stay down? That's kind of the issue.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, so here is the JLP pool on Jupiter, as Black Hat was alluding to. So one JLP token consists of 31% Solana, 32% Solana, 10% ETH, 41% wrapped Bitcoin, USDC, and USDT. So as you said, it's kind of like a pool of different tokens in one token, and that's what JLP is. And then you can stake your JLP right here on the Jupiter exchange.
Yeah, I was actually tuned into a chat they had today on PPPs for Jupe, and I want to say when I jumped in, it almost sounded like somebody was talking about getting rid of the BTC out of that, but don't hold me to that. I got to look into whatever it was.
I think you're right. I think you're right, because the wrapped Bitcoin, I've heard it as well. They're going to be moving it to China or something, or trying to ban it. So a lot of people are getting away from the wrapped Bitcoin. I did hear that as well.
Oh, okay. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll let you get to it. Thanks for answering my questions.
Thanks, Black Hat.
Awesome. So I think that kind of covers the top three plays. We got into the impermanent loss topic, the correlation, the custom ranges, etc. So I think that's a good beginning overview session, and a lot for anyone who I think is new to kind of go back, and we'll upload this to YouTube. I'll put all the links to the dexes that you spoke about, so everyone's making sure they're clicking on the official dex and not getting into any fake links. And speaking of scams, maybe if we have a few minutes left, I know you were telling me about one specific scam that was relative to LPs, and I guess that would relate more to not to the fact if you're able to zap in, because then I guess that kind of takes care of that. But if you have to, is that more so in relation to if you have to do the swap and create the LP manually?
Okay, well, I'll touch on that in just 1 second. I do want to make sure everyone realizes that speaking of safety and keeping your funds safe, first I want to mention that anyone that decides to go into an LP pool, make sure that when you are having a pair, whatever token that you are earning as your yield, for example, in Injective, sometimes you can have an LP pool of Injective and some other random token, and that the yield is paid out in that random token. Trying to stay away from those, and make sure that whatever it is you're being paid out in is a blue chip like Injective itself, or something else that you that you don't mind keeping and that you know is going to do well. Because if you end up getting a reward in some token that goes to zero, what's the point? The other thing I wanted to mention as well is I mentioned DeFi Llama. The other good tool to use is Metrics Finance. It's a liquidity pool tracker. It compares all dexes and pairs on any chain. So it kind of helps you look and see what's going on, what's paying well, what's not paying well. And it gives you those yields at any given time. And then you can also set the filters on that page for the ones that pay the highest yield, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, going back to safety, what happened to me is a lot of these dexes now, Orca being one of them, when you provide liquidity and you hit that enter button, what happens is you get an NFT. If you're on, I use Phantom Wallet for any of my Solana things. This is the same with any wallet, but on Phantom specifically, it happened to me is when you create that LP, it mints an NFT. That NFT is your position. And what happened was, before I was, wise to what was going on, I got a spam NFT, and it popped up as a notification saying, thank you for your liquidity pool position. Here is a free airdrop of I can't even remember what token it was. I recognized it. That's why I thought it was legit. Click here. And I know you're not supposed to click on links. That's one of the number one things you learn in crypto and in DeFi especially. And I learned that way back. But what was different about this is it showed up right in my wallet in my NFT section of my Phantom wallet. So I thought it was legit. Clicked the link, and next thing I know, that position was wiped out. Now, it's a good thing it was only a test position. I was doing some research on yield and things like that. So it was a very, very small position. But it's lesson learned that you must be very, very careful to not click on anything, even if it seems legit. And, I thought I learned my lesson because I was scammed way back when on what chain was that? On the Crow chain, Kronos chain. I got clicked on a phishing link, and I thought, never happening again. I'm not going through that again. But it happened. So, yeah, just be very, very wary of people trying to take your money.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's happened to all of us, I'm sure. And I see it in the community happening to community members all the time. And the scammers are getting more and more creative as we move forward within crypto, and more creative ideas and links and ways that you think you're safe and you find out you're not. So the best way, I guess, is what you described. Just don't click on anything that you really don't need to.
Yeah. Anything that looks like it shouldn't be there or that you didn't do it, yeah, don't click on it for sure. Shout out to Juan. I see him. Good friend of mine out listening. Nice to see you here, Juan. But yeah, being safe and diligent is the number one thing. Do not click on links that you're unfamiliar with. That's really the best way to keep yourself safe.
Agree. Okay. Well, I think we're coming up on just about an hour, and we've covered a lot of great information. I'm going to go back and rewatch again and start to get myself set up. I think in all of these liquidity pools that you mentioned really hit home for me. They're chains and tokens that I am a fan of, and I have these tokens sitting in my wallet just doing nothing right now, not earning anything for me. So it's time to put them to work, put them to good use.
Absolutely.
And I don't think we have any other questions that I see from the community, but of course, you can always jump into the Telegram. You can always tag Crypto Crazy if you have questions. And again, don't forget, are you doing those streams now on YouTube back weekly, or is it just sporadic at this point?
We want to get back to it being weekly. We had our summer holidays, and It was a bit of a cross up on the 1 week with my co-host and I. He thought I wasn't going to be able to stream, but I kind of pulled away from the cottage in a corner. I was going to do it on my phone, but it didn't happen. But yeah, we are back weekly every Thursday at 7 Eastern on YouTube, and also we Rumble and Twitter. And then one other thing I wanted to mention, speaking of information and shout outs, is Chris Durgan over in DeFi Club. I want to give a shout out to him. He's got his new DeFi University, which I'm sure you're going to share the link. A lot of great information on there about everything to do with DeFi, liquidity pools, you name it. It's a really, really good website. He's got a lot of information. He's a university professor. He really knows his stuff. So I just wanted to give a little shout out to him.
Excellent. Yeah, I appreciate that. And I will definitely share his link in the official YouTube description and in Telegram as well. And I even reached out to him yesterday, so I hope he will be one of our guests that we can bring on for one of the upcoming VCs specific to this series. I think he'd be a great person to share some knowledge with us, and I think he would love to come on and join the community. So we'll definitely share that link as well. And thank you for your time, and thank you for taking time out of your day to do this for us and pass along this wisdom to the community. Everyone, please don't forget to support Crypto Crazy. Again, get over to the streams whenever you can watch them, even if it's not live. If you enjoyed this type of content, you'll find much more of that over with his YouTube content. And thank you all for those that were here today and the questions. And we look forward to continuing this series and doing it again. And Crypto Crazy, we hope to bring you back on again as we move forward throughout the year. And maybe there's some new pools or some new exciting options that pop up that you can shed some light on with us.
Anytime. Thanks for having me on.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. See you on the next one.
Take care.
Okay.